to the NXT Podcast, your home for weekly NXT reviews and insight.
The beautiful part of NXT is that when one dream ends, another dream begins.
Find all of your NXT news, recaps, and analysis right here. So with that being said, we only have one question for you.
Are you ready?
We thought so. Let's get the show started right now.
All right, guys, this is Memphis Mark coming to you from Mullet Manor, and we've got the review, the NXT review for 8/29. And, of course, this is the first week after their premium live event called Heatwave. So they do a little recap at the start of the show, but then it goes straight into a cage match. And the bounty or the headline of this cage match is that is if the Creed brothers win, they get their contract back, reinstated. So you've got Schism or Dyad going against the Creed brothers. And, of course, this looks like a great match. The guys get ready to go in the ring. Julius goes in, and then all of a sudden a bunch of yellow-faced people grab old Brutus. And they take Brutus off. They literally, like about 6 or 8 of them, they grab him, snatch him up on their shoulders, and they take him off to the back. While this is all happening, Julius is now locked in with Dyad, which is a part of Schism. And so now we've got a 2-on-1 match, a handicap match. And it happened right when Brutus was doing his crawl up into the ring. And then Gacy has the lock and key, and he locks him in. So you've got Dyad going to town on Julius. They hold him up, pick Brutus up, and take him off and make him watch. So that's the start of the match. And now normally I would say this comes to a major butt whooping in the ring. But Dyad didn't capitalize. They just, you got 2-on-1. They did a beatdown. Now, don't get me wrong. They did a beatdown, but it's just, and they, of course, are trying to make Julius, because he looked like a Greek god. He's getting in great shape. He looked real serious coming out, where Brutus was still kind of joking and hollering to the crowd. But it's just, when they were doing their 2-on-1s, a lot of times Dyad just seemed obviously slow on some of them. I mean, Julius looked great. Don't get me wrong. His pop-ups, everything was good. It was on Dyad, I think, on this one. And I don't know if it's because they were trying to work with one person. Maybe it throws you off. It just, a couple things didn't look right. And of course, Julius and Brutus trying to carry a storyline is not a great thing. In the old Memphis days, Memphis never had great wrestling back in its old days, but it had great storylines and great characters. And even Scott Steiner learned, that's where I think he learned a lot of his early stuff, was when he was coming through our territory. But man, they were like, Dyad's going around and doing a kick and a walk, and then another one does a kick, and then one of them will hit him, and another guy get up and walk around. And Fowler and them, I just wasn't impressed with that. In the old days that I knew, a 2-on-1, there would have been some major moves done. But anyway, it comes a time, though, where Julius does get the upper hand, and he does a one-hand power bomb. Some of the moves, the match is not, as far as Dyad's, what they should have been doing was not what it was, but some of the comeback moves of Julius, and then the entrance And that's right, the re-entrance of Brutus coming back in. He comes back in. He throws the yellow face people. He's chunking them left and right. He comes down to the ring, chases Gacy around, does a couple of little fiddle faddles, but he gets to the gate to get into the steel cage. And Gacy reminds him he has the key. And that's when the chasing happened. But he reminds me he has the key. So Brutus just figures, heck, I'll just walk on up there and yank this thing on off. And that's what he does. He walks up and yanks it off and then puts it into the ring and eventually does, I guess, maybe his version of a tribute to Terry Funk. He picks it up and slams it into both of the guys of Dyad, and it's okay. It's okay. I'm not disappointed with all that, how it goes. And then of course Brutus goes in and takes over the match and throwing people around, and he's chunking. But Fowler and Reed, they of course are going to have their shots at it too. So it's kind of a back and forth. I mean, Dyad looked good towards the end when both guys were in the ring. That's the only reference I made earlier was about, I think it was maybe harder for those guys to work with one guy. And back in the Memphis territory, that wouldn't have been a problem for any of those old guys. But anyway, you got the power bomb like that. The Brutus does the best Brutus bomb off the top rope I've ever seen him do, and of course the Creed brothers are going to win this match. And afterwards, Ava walks off. Her and Gacy stare at each other in disbelief, and she takes off. So we go from that to Roxanne Perez. Roxanne does a little promo, but because they've got a fatal 4-way coming up for the number one contender for Tiffany Stratton's belt. So she's doing her first. So in other words, all the ladies have to have their time with the stick, and Roxanne does hers. But after that, they introduce a global Heritage Cup Invitational Championship. They got everybody from their different countries. You got Axiom, you got Tyler Bate, Tawaza, or Kira. You got Dempsey, you got Duke Butch, from the Brawling Brutes, Nathan Frazier. So, you got a big tournament. You got, I think it's 4-on-4 on those sides. So it is introducing the tournament. They're going to have a couple of qualifying matches tonight. And then after that, of course, we've got Tony Stacks and Mello, with the champs. Everybody's got their belts on, got their grooves going, and all of a sudden the Street Profits are there. So the Street Profits come in, and Mello, he seems a little preoccupied. He's trying to get some stuff taken care of. But Tony D and Stacks, they sit around and chop it up with the Street Profits, and I could see a little Street Profit appearance coming in NXT. Just the way they did it, so I like it. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a bunch of ladies, like 4 or 6, I forgot how. I was trying to actually watch the promo and do some things, and then all of a sudden, it was like Blazing Saddles. A bunch of people just started fighting out. It was a bunch of ladies just come out and start fighting all over the place. So the Street Profits, maybe Tony D and Stacks, a match coming up? Maybe. But then we have our first qualifying match for the Global Heritage Cup Challenge. That's a heck of a lot to say there. But it's old Dempsey and Butch And of course Dempsey comes out with Gulak and Damon Kemp, and Metaphor is up in the proverbial skybox watching down. You've got Dempsey and Charlie Dempsey and Butch from the Brawling Brutes making his return to NXT. And, of course, you've got Dempsey coming out kind of at first, trying to tie Butch up in a knot, kind of giving Butch, really kind of giving him a little bit of his own medicine. Even with the fingers and the stomping on the elbow, I mean, did everything, kind of like that. But Butch has to come back and do the same thing too. This match is a pretty good match if you like, catch can kind of, just a really good wrestling match with some a good guy that's a bad guy and a bad guy that's a bad guy. It's kind of good. This wasn't a bad match at all. Butch is going to win this match, but Charlie looks good in it, man. He looks good. They've got to give the main roster guy, I would think, this one right here, and especially Butch returning and everything like that. But man, not a bad match. I would say go back and watch this one. You got a few promos. You got Dragon Lee and doing a prolo, and Mustafa Ali comes out and kind of burst his bubble, saying, kind of, look, man, you were there and you struck out. My time. I'm up to plate. So I can see Mustafa in a match upcoming, of course, and then Dragon Lee and Mustafa. And a few people that Mustafa has kind of ticked off on this. But then you've got Dragunov coming out doing his promo. And, of course, Metaphor is still up in their proverbial skybox with terrible English. But there was some German spoke. There was some, I don't know how many languages were spoke. I can barely do English. So, but Dragunov is trying to do his promo, and then Noam Dar interrupts him. And they go to a gallywag kind of thing back and forth for a while, where Noam is pretty much saying that he would whoop Dragunov if he wasn't busy at the moment. And Dragunov at one point in time is going to go up into the proverbial skybox. So they stop that and decide, hey, let's have a match next week. And Noam said he'll give him a wrestling lesson. But during this time, Ora Mensah decides to come down to the ring and explain to Dragunov. He's going to explain to him. He's going to explain. And I got to say, Mensah was sitting up in the top with like a shawl over his head or whatever. Didn't understand that one. It was colorful, though. I didn't like that. It was colorful. But yeah, Mensah comes down to the ring and then climbs up in there and was going to try to teach Dragunov a little something. But he messed around and found out. So yeah, it's all coming up to next week, setting up that. And then, of course, they go to one more promo with Von Wagner. And he's now got a T-shirt about table service or something, putting Braun to a table. And of course, Braun's got his T-shirts with the best spear in the in the business. And so they both, of course, have their time. And it appears that Von Wagner wants a no DQ match with Braun. So an unpolished diamond against a polished diamond that could still use a little something on the side. But it's that later cloth that's just shining it before you put it in the display case. Von still needs a hair bit more than that, but we'll see how this goes, and we'll see how Vaughn reacts to this, because this is going to be his big spotlight match coming up. So hopefully him and Mr. Stone have got their game plan together. But we got Elektra Lopez and Lola Feiss coming out of going against Dana Brooks and Miss Jordan. Okay, and I got to say, Miss Jordan surprised me a little bit. She came out a little strong with the help of somebody else. She came out with some good, solid offensive moves to start the match off. But Lola Feiss gets in there, and Lola Feiss just shut it down. She looked good. I'm not sure where she came from, but man, she looked pretty good in this match, and Lopez did too. But they let Jordan have the majority of the time of the start of this match, and I think Miss Feiss looked very, very good. I think Miss Lopez looked a hair bit slow, but still very good. The powerhouse of the group. When finally Dana got Miss Brooke got in there, it's just, I just don't understand. I don't know what it is. There are little spurts to where Dana Brooks looks great, and then you don't see it for a while. Sometimes it takes a week or two. So just don't know what they're going to do with it. Now, Miss Feiss did hit a spinning back fist that was freaking looked great. So she had some big offensive moves. But this is the one, Miss Feiss does go over to break up a pin attempt. And she lands on her, and then Jordan, I think somebody told Jordan to sell. And then she goes, oh, looked a little bad. You're going to have, this one go. I will say, Dana just is not, everybody's kind of, even Dijak has come in and kind of got a new name, and some of the, people coming down from the main roster trying to change things around. Not sure about the Dana Brooke experience. Either way, at the end of this match, Miss Feiss gets to put like a super Wonder Woman kick on her, and as Miss Lopez holds her and knocks her down. Now, Dana freaks out on the outside as, the ladies let her know that they didn't really care. And then you're heading towards the Fatal 4-Way, but they've got a little Eddie Thorpe and Dijak, which are coming up in a match, so... either way it goes, you're going to have a bunch of promos coming up here. You've got Gigi doing her promo about her spot in the Fatal 4-Way. Then you've got an interesting kind of one with Trick and Mello. And Mello comes in as Trick's kind of, saying, whoop that Trick, while I was in Memphis. They were hollering that. Yeah, that's our slogan. So, yeah. They have kind of an interesting little tid for tat. It's like, do you think I can beat Dragunov? And Trick's like, man, and then Mello's like, oh, you done said it, so it's, he's taking words out of Trick's mouth, but towards the end, Trick says that, yes, you can. But Mello's got some doubt, so he's building up the match. And I sure do wish they would give Dragunov a spot at the belt with a little while, and I'm sure they will eventually, but don't think it will be in this match, though. But after that, you are going to go into Dijak and Eddie Thorpe. And at the start of this match, Dijak jumps Eddie Thorpe. So it's like he wants it to be his own version of a squash match because he is not happy with the way the locker room has treated Eddie Thorpe. So he comes out and jumps Mr. Thorpe, and Eddie turns it around on him and starts whooping him. Counters everything as fast. His moves look good. Looked really, really good. And the one chance that when Dijak is going to he catches him in a move and he's going to, slam him outside or do something, he's got him on the outside. He does this little spin and throws him into one of the announcers' chairs. Look kind of weak, And but Eddie looked good in the match, and then Dijak's selling. He's doing his part, I guess, but he tries to bring a chair in, and so that gets taken away. And then he goes to use the belt. Now, not like a studded belt, not like a chain, like a motorcycle chain belt or a leather belt. A leather belt. Anyway, so he puts the leather belt on his fist and goes to use it, and it gets distracted and gets taken away, or it gets not used. So, but he makes a good point as making sure that gets through the ropes if you watch a little closer. But that is setting up. They have a couple more, minutes of in-ring action. That's pretty good. But then Dijak, I guess it was time to go home, and it was Dijak gets thrown to the outside. And when Eddie comes up, Dijak smacks him with the belt wrapped around his fist. And that knocks old Eddie down and out. And so Dijak gets the pin. And as he's walking up the ramp, he's still got the belt around his fist, and he's laughing. They could have done so much better with that, with a $30 belt. That's just my opinion. All right. So yeah, belt. Really? Okay. Anyway, you've got Kiana James doing a promo because she's in the 4-way match, the Fatal 4-way. So she is looking for the number one spot with Tiffany. And you got Corbin doing a little promo. And O'Brien comes up and says, "Hey, you should thank me for saving you." And Braun, of course, is like, "Dude, you didn't save me," or whatever. So they go back and forth. And of course, Corbin tells him that he needs to make sure he doesn't get put through a table when he goes against Vaughn, because might hurt his T-shirt business. But Braun comes back with saying that he better watch out because it could be the end of days. So yeah, they have a good little promo there. And then let me see. Oh, you've got Garza you got Angel and Humberto Garza. They're doing more of a cinematic promo on this one. They're building this up. They're putting some time in because both of these guys have got some great in-ring ability. They just used them, I think, wrong, and they put them out there as like the Latin lover type guys, and both good-looking guys, but they're going to go in now and do their grandfather proud. An old big headlining luchador from Mexico. So they did an interesting kind of setup with this, with the claw marks on the arm. They both had it. So, not so bad. Not so bad. And then they do their tribute for Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk. And they show the Bray Wyatt tribute they did on SmackDown, and nothing but prayers for JoJo and the family, and Bray, of course, a very, very big talent. His name says it all. Wyndham Rotundo. I mean, that was some big names. I didn't like the fact that they really didn't do a good tribute on Terry Funk. They should have delved a little bit into the history, before WWE. I got to say, my best memory is on a Saturday morning. Lawler and Funk had a feud going, and Funk had told Lance Russell, the announcer, that, hey, if this egg-sucking dog has the fortitude to show up, I'm going to give you a place, an address, and you tell them to show up at this time, and we'll settle it. And they did. It was the Mid-South Coliseum with no one in it, and it was a great little spot. Everybody, I would suggest going back to the Funk and Lawler at the Mid-South Coliseum with no one there. Funk ends up trying to take Jerry Lawler's eye out, and Lawler ends up accidentally kicking Funk's hand and almost taking Funk's eye out, which continued over for quite a few weeks, and it was a great setup, a great spot. So go back and check that out. But let me see where we go. We go from that. You got Blair Davenport doing her promo, and of course I got Rhea and Dom claiming that Dom will be the champ, and Dom said faux life. And he's going to be in the number one contender for his the match in the way of being a referee. So I'm sure that should be interesting. We'll have to see. And they have the next qualifying match, because you got Gallus. We got Joe Coffey going against Nathan Frazier, and this was a good match. I love the way Coffey come out with doing just jabs like a boxer coming out, stay off me. Nathan Frazier definitely faster, but Joe Coffey definitely stronger. And Joe Coffey sells in this, and at one point in time, this match is worth going back and watching, just for the fact that Nathan Frazier, because of his height and the way he was thrown into the ropes, his head went under the top rope, but it's like his forehead caught the top rope when he was thrown in. Looked violent. Go back and check this out, because at first I thought, and I still think he's going to have a sore neck, but man, it looked bad. The whole show is worth going back and watching Nathan Frazier hit that rope, and it's early in the match, and he comes back. I mean, you can see the ref checking on him, and everybody making sure, but man, it looked bad. And he ends up losing this match. But the whole match it was a pretty good match and everything. I'm not saying anything wrong, but you have to go back and watch him hitting that rope. Oh, well worth it. And we go from there to Chase U doing a promo with Duke and them, and they're getting ready for Duke's upcoming match. They kind of go over the Heritage Cup rules and everything like that, and but no Thea Hale. She's nowhere to be found. But she shows up afterwards when they're heading to study hall to help plan, and she says, "Hey, I ain't got time for y'all, man, because I got something else to do, because I'm going out with my partner here, JC Jane." So let's see where they go from that. And they did have an interesting little, I can't think of the guy's name, but the little flunky that Gulak and Dempsey have been whooping on. He's cleaning up the ring, of course, and Val and Henry goes out, and they're doing like an Instagram post or something, like a tweet or something, or a X, I guess you would say nowadays. And she lets them know they need a third for a match. And he's flattered and thanks her. And so, yeah, they're going to do that. So, and then they have a Wesley little spot doing like an Instagram spot, and the same with Tyler and everything. And then they actually go to the Fatal 4-Way match. And it's Roxanne and Gigi and Kiana James and Davenport for the number 1 Contenders spot to get a chance to go for the belt that Tiffany Stratton has. And the match is actually, pretty good. To tell you the truth, the match was better watching it than it was Dyad when they had a 2-on-1 situation. So the ladies did a good job. A good hits. Gigi always seems like she's slow, and then she'll do 3 or good offensive moves, or put those together. Kiana James is just a lightning bolt. Davenport got to have a belt pretty soon. And then, of course, Roxanne, the prodigy. Yeah, okay, but she did good in this match. I mean, she's gotten better and better. So the match is a good match. I would say go back and watch. It was pretty good. Now, Kiana is going to come out. Miss James is going to come out and win this number 1 spot. And look, in a tag team situation, I think Kiana and somebody could go to the main roster now. She does a lot of things right. So, but yeah, kind of a surprise on this one, and it's Miss James that's going to be taking on Miss Stratton for the strap. But as we go off air, you have Mello still kind of upset, so he got to go talk to somebody. So who does he go talk to? It's the HBK. It's Shawn Michaels. So he just goes on up in his office. So we'll see how that goes. But all right, guys, I guess that is the end of this one. It's been a chaotic week with all the big London, and then now you've got an event coming up this coming week. So stuff is happening. Good time to be a wrestling fan. So just thank you to all you guys out there, and we're going to go ahead and end it now. But this is Memphis Mark, of course. Help out if you can. Spay and neuter, always. And you know what, guys? I'm out.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.